In this piece, I want to talk about buying at discount. We get inquiries and applications, if not every day, every week, about landlords wanting to buy at discount. But here's the thing: lenders have a real issue where there is a significant discount that you have managed to negotiate. That sounds bizarre, doesn't it? Because on the surface, you would be forgiven for thinking that if you had a property that all day long was worth £100,000, you've managed to negotiate £20,000 of that price. So you're buying it for £80,000. You want a 75% mortgage on that lower purchase price of £80,000, which is what lenders always do. They'll ignore the market value. So they're actually going to give you a £60,000 mortgage on your £80,000 purchase. So if you think about it, they're giving you £60,000 on something that has a value of 100. That's 60% loan to value. So that's lower risk to the lender. And guess what? Not only that, the lender's saying, well, hold on, the purchase price is 80,000. You want to borrow 60. That's 75% loan to value. So I'm going to only offer you a 75% loan to value product. So let's put our lender hat on. Hold on a minute. Lender, you've got to actually, your risk is at 60% because the value is 100,000, but you're charging me 75%. And Richard's telling me you're reluctant to do them. What on earth's going on? Doesn't make sense, does it? So if you are looking to purchase heavily discounted properties, if that's your strategy, or you just stumble across one in 2025, you really, really need to educate yourself to understand why on earth would lenders get a little anxious and do a lot of due diligence, or worse, there's lots and lots of lenders that say, no, we will not approve a case where the discount is in excess of, I would say, 10%. It doesn't make sense. So stay tuned for this. I'll explain. So first of all, to answer that question, you've got to understand why would a seller sell a house that's worth 100,000 for 80,000? Why on earth do they do that? Well, look, there's actually, if you actually just take a little time out, there's loads and loads of reasons why vendors are motivated to sell at a significant discount. It's not the topic of conversation today, but a little flavor. What about divorce? What about death in the family and inheritance? What about people moving out of the area because they want to go to a different geographical area to get little Johnny in a certain school? And so they've got to move by a certain deadline to be able to apply because you've got to be living in that area, that catchment area. What if you're emigrating? What if you've got financial issues? What if you're moving into a care home? What if you're moving jobs? And again, you've got to sell the house. What if you've got a bigger family and you really have desperate to get into that bigger property and actually the house of your dreams has just come up? There might be lots and lots of reasons why a seller is motivated. But here's the challenge from a lender's point of view. There's a couple of other reasons. In fact, there's probably more, but I'm going to give you two from a lender's point of view that makes them really, really nervous. The first one is vulnerable sellers. So there's an actual definition of this from a mortgage perspective, and it's elderly people. It's people that have a foreign language, therefore don't understand English. It's people who have got a mental health issue. And so what if you are an unscrupulous landlord and you've taken advantage of this vulnerable seller and you've convinced them that actually £80,000 is what it's worth, and actually you're doing them a favor, and they should be pleased to sell you at that price. Can you imagine, again, stick your lender hat on for a second, the bad publicity, that PR, when all that unravels further down the line and the press get hold of it, because the lender will be tarred with that brush if they're seen to be complicit with a vulnerable person that's been taken advantage of by a landlord, and the lender has facilitated that landlord in buying that property at such a cheap value. So there's one reason. Another one is about creditors. So, and I've seen it, if people are being chased hounded by creditors, they've been threatened with court, they've been threatened with bankruptcy, then I see people get rid of property as soon as they can. And they change it for something that is really, really visible, an asset that is so tangible and visible and on the land registry, and they liquidate it so they can put it into cash so they can hide it. But down the line, if that creditor finds out that that's what the individual has done, they can go to the courts and they can get that whole process reversed. So a lender is really concerned that if someone might be selling at a significant discount for that reason, and again, if the courts do back the creditors and it all gets reversed, it's really, really messy for the lender. It's expensive for the lender, and they've got to reverse everything that's gone on. Therefore, there is a big, sizable chunk of lenders that when they see that it's at discount, and I know you're saying, well, how would they know? But we'll come to that in a second. Then they will decline the case. So how would they know? Because if you don't highlight it on an application form, well, the surveyors are going to pick it up. If I stick with that example of an £80,000 house and they know it's worth 100k all day, the surveyors will alert the underwriters and the bank. And not only does it get declined, but you've wasted time, you've wasted energy, you've wasted money. So here's the takeaway message. Do I say ignore them and avoid them? Not at all. No. If that is your strategy, if you are trying to find heavily discounted, absolutely, you go 100% looking for them all day long. But what you must do is talk to your broker. Be transparent with your broker. Explain the situation. How have you come across that discount? Is it because the seller is motivated, or actually is the property in a real state of disrepair? Is there some structural issues with it, so there's not many buyers? Don't worry about the reasons, but give us the full chapter and verse. As a broker, you should be have such a relationship with your broker that you could have that conversation. The broker should be asking these sorts of questions. So again, if that's your strategy, if you're coming across those right now or likely to next year, then at the end of this piece, there's a link. Click on it. Have a chat with the team to understand about the discounts a little more. If you're having some early conversations with a potential vendor and there's likely to be a big discount, talk to us, because it influences the research you do. It influences the lenders we can talk to, and ultimately the rates that you are able to get. The sooner we can give you that information, that will maybe inform what negotiations. Maybe you want an even bigger discount if the lenders that you're offering are reduced, and maybe you're paying a slightly higher interest rate. And by the way, just to finalize on that, this is only at the point of purchase. This is the bizarre stuff, that when you come to refinance it, let's say you do a 2-year deal, in 2 years' time, you can forget everything I've just said about the wariness of the lender. In 2 years' time, you'll be refinancing it at its market value. And by the way, there's lots of ways to refinance at market value a lot sooner, but that's a whole new topic. Again, I've talked about it in the past. I might do another piece on it soon about how if you've got that £20,000 or 25% discount, how do you get your hands on that sooner than later? It's a bit more complicated topic, which I will cover off another time. But I really hope that's been of use. And like I say, click on the link below if you want to have a chat with the team about that any further.